have one more writer before the break, and tonight we're gonna hear from Russ Devereaux. Russ Devereaux has found that writing creates a much-needed equilibrium between the confusions arising from his innate insight into people's hearts and his general discomfort with his surroundings. He performs his unique, motivational, spoken word and slam poetry with humor and passion, ushering his audience through a mosaic of life's forgotten moments and ignored beauty. He hopes his portraits of the world will inspire you to listen to the innate abilities you may have locked inside. Please join and like Russ on Facebook at RDTGP, Russ Devereaux, the Tailgate Prophet. Russ's poetry makes the importance of art and creativity crystal clear, illuminates dark places, and creates story magic as old as the ages. I added that.
Yeah, I can tell.
I pumped it. Russ Devereaux.
I absolutely hate biographies and bios. It's not me. I'm going to do 3 poems. Hopefully you enjoy them. This first one, though, I really hope, or I like to define the word Christ in its most broad perspective. And if you were to look it up, it literally means the anointed one. And I really like that idea because then maybe we don't have to kill each other over what we believe. So this is called St. Louis Savior. It's not about the Cardinals. The night I met Christ, we were in St. Louis, Missouri, outside of a train station hotel amongst the shadows of heat lamps and an autumn arch. He walked into the midnight cold and stood too close next to me. We immediately shared a glance which acknowledged our mutual need to be seen, especially through the smoke screens we resurrect each time I light a cigarette or he performs a miracle. He seemed to be a golden man, probably not because of his God-given divinity, but rather his ethnicity, originating from somewhere in the Middle East. Or maybe his bullion complexion could have been blamed on an affinity for extensive travels spent in the sun. I have never been a man close to the cloth. I was only washed out of tradition and not religious conviction, but I do believe that he seemed to be a man rather fond of walking. So beneath a gaudy awning covering our view of the heavens, we stood, probably too close together, in near proximity to an enclosed valet shack. Our physical positioning seemed to create a visible altar of light between us, the lost and the found. I have never been a man comfortable living within my own personal space, and always felt it especially unnerving when another would get too close to my being. But right then, I found peace within the intimacy. "You from around here?" the man asked, utilizing such soulful syllables as if he were playing saxophone atop a pulpit. "Chicago," I said, with every intentions of speaking more, but for some reason unable to locate my voice. A rare problem. The man thought as deeply as he pulled in from the end of the filter, which when pressed to his lips could barely be differentiated. The silence hung around us like an improperly fitting halo. He then let the ghost of burning go slowly and escaped from within while he simultaneously spoke wholly. "I hope you make it home safely." The feathery cotton dancing out of his orifice became punctuated by the closing of his lips, creating an almost deathly Morse code. I quickly averted my gaze and looked down the darkened streets, trying to conceal the uninvited tears from being seen by this sidewalk stranger. And once I composed myself enough to look back at that St. Louis savior, only the smoldering end of his flickering life remained. So then, once again, I stood alone in the cold, but looking forward to being home. You're all very sweet. Thank you so much. And thanks, Ann and Waterline and all this. This is incredible. This is kind of my church, so I absolutely love these things. I don't believe Houdini was that great of an escape artist. I just think he was really good at saying goodbye. I am in a very interesting point in my life and having to say goodbye to some very important things. And this piece I wrote when I was very well invested in my favorite place ever, my house. And that's rapidly changing. So I'd like to do this one again. It's called When Up Is Off. In my house, there are 2 light switches, one mounted at each end of the living room wall. Now, they were wrongfully installed during construction due to lazy repairmen and circumstance. So when one is stationed in the traditional on position, the other resides in the opposite off location, an electrical situation that left every entry and exit into the room rather unpredictable. Each time the threshold was crossed, a sense of pondering set in, momentarily wondering if the attempted flick of the light switch would be met by fluorescent lights flooding through the room, or if the outwardly extended finger would be left lonely, longing for a downward light switch like an adult infant silently desiring the comfort of a childhood blanket, long derided now to a distant memory. Now, half of the attempts found favorable outcomes, a high-pitched click, followed closely behind by the soft hum of neon's chemical interactions, but the other times, the failed flicks caused internal annoyance, abrasive frustration, and of course, audible exhalation. You see, living, when up is off, takes a toll on the mind the same way booths prevent wandering highway travelers, desiring nothing more than unbridled freedom. In my house, expecting was never an accepted norm. Christmas, birthdays, tomorrow morning's bad breath, each a welcomed gift because we were raised warmly, firmly grounded, always knowing that our wants might not always meet the reality of a blue-collar account summary, that entitlement never came before endless amounts of hard work, demanding never preluded random receiving, and when light was needed, preparing for the switch to be in either location was just as important as the actual action of flicking, because what is not always. Having is not nearly the same as cherishing. And hard days, they may continue throughout all of eternity, but no matter the amount of strife, love is a family, warmly embracing and enjoying, living when up is off. Thank you for allowing me to do that one. It's always... I try and remember that it's for like you all, but every now and then it's a little bit more personal than that. I'm going to do one last one, and I'm going to try and do it quickly, but spaces like this, there needs to be more everywhere, and if there was, maybe we wouldn't have things that go on in our world that we just all don't understand, and these are the safe places, and these are the places we need to support, and we need to continue having them. So thank you again for allowing this. This is called Free Art. It's been long enough We've kept trapped techniques and layered textures behind elite admission fees while being protected by velvety ropes, trying and succeeding at keeping the collective us from getting too close to the hopes of an artist's transposed portrait onto a canvas, visible only by the aristocratic pocketbooks wealthy enough to see inside the towers of ivory. Symphonies of silk and string are caged behind black-tie galas, and golden flake crown molding sculptures are sitting, thinking, what would a garden of grown beauty be like to be in? They are longing to be amongst those who have only Googled their reflection. So the time is now. We must free art. Let's spike a glass bottle containing every lightning strike of creativity in the center of Times Square. Let's attach paddles to the chest of culture and shock it awake from the coma of corporate support. We can electrify imagination among the masses or build the catwalks of European chic atop the sidewalks running parallel to every avenue and parkway. Unleash dapper and elegant, disconcerting and innovative, wistful and wonderful stage readings of Mammoth, Shakespeare, and 8 Mile, and every gazebo and arboretum everywhere. Let's post and glue photographs of people like me and you, smiling, blown up huge enough to consume the four-wayed centered space in every directional intersection so we all can at least drive through happiness. Let's allow musicianship to set our sails towards the long-lost but most perfect-sounding port of free Arta, known to be filled with miles of Coltrane's and Theloniouses. You see, the corners of First and Main Street should be the most sought-after galleries. We can build the colors and lines contained within aluminum to the face of brick and mortar. Yes, we can transform the surface permanently into a stop and ponder. Let's plaster stencils of love and loss across the windows and back rooms of suburban strip malls and TSA checkpoints. Let's spray paint the canals and dams, graffiti over the billboard posters and advertisements, wander in search of a Banksy, hail to a King Robbo, turn a bua into your profile pic, stop and contemplate a 4-year-old's chalk walk sketching, or at least dance. I mean, there's got to be time to dance. So let's dance in the nosebleed seats at the UC during the greatest 17 seconds, or in the waiting room of the most unnerving oncology office, or in line at the DMV, please. Let's pop and lock with each goal scored. Let B-girls and B-boys break with every benign diagnosis along with sorority chicks as they celebrate the last round of chemo, as they twerk for a cure, and make dang sure that you tangle with the random person behind you during your ID photo. The time is now to place dynamite beneath your ideas, ignite the fuse of motivation, and burn that through the late night hours till finally the sun rises upon an explosion of what we, as an embracing society, can create. There are traces of freed art roaming amongst the biggest cities, but the work is not complete. It is our job to continue the movement, to remove the chains that drape around the heart of artistry, to finally alter the mentality that art can't be a full-time job. I'm telling you, it can be. Artistry is the captured essence of creativity which nourishes our souls. We must prevent creations from being entrapped by white walls and oak frames. Just take a moment and envision a place where we all can feel and appreciate art freely while simultaneously searching and exploring our hearts for the paintings not yet discovered but which are residing deeply within us. I promise, once art is truly free and it roams wildly, covering all that is plain and mundane, maybe then we will look around in astonishment at all of the pure, unfettered beauty and realize in that collective moment that we, as a community, have painted, drawn, created, and most importantly, released the humanity which has remained only to be seen inside of our dreams. Thank you all so much for listening tonight.
Thank you. I'm always amazed he can memorize all that. Honest to God. I was reading his bio and I tried to memorize the first line. I got nowhere. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Any questions for Russ? That was brilliant. Yes, ma'am.
How do you memorize?
I talk to myself a lot. And I have a 45-minute drive out to Northern Illinois University every day. That's a really good time to just continue to talk to yourself.
Do you listen to it in?
No, most of the time I'll write it down, I'll draft it just like a traditional writing process, and then have it typed up and just continue working on it, very similar to what actors would do with lines.
Anything else? John?
On that last one though, do you alter the lines to fit the place that you're performing in?
Not really, no. That's what's amazing. I wrote that really not knowing where it would belong, but I thought it would be a really cool place to have, and I've done that. That's the third time I've done that piece, and I've found 3 different places that match that description. So I've always kind of believed if you project it out there, maybe you'll find those, and it's really nice to find something exactly like that.
I heard him do that on the corner of Route 64 and, what was it, 71st?
Yeah, I think,
Avenue,
yeah.
in front of the St. Charles City Hall, with traffic all around.
This is different than that, and I appreciate this.
Your poems are full of positivity and inspiration. What inspires you?
Things like this, completely. If I didn't have this, I would not be here. And then I was lucky enough to have a lot of love in my life, and I think that's where I am. And there's enough crap in this world that I really try and stay away from that with mine. Don't worry, there's times, it doesn't very often come out onto the stage, but I think I'm just lucky that way.
Anybody else? Have you written, is it written down like there's a book coming out someday, or do you primarily perform it? I'm just curious.
All right, so I memorize stuff because I'm not a very good writer. I don't think I am. I never have thought I am. And like grammar and commas and all of that stuff. You can ask any of
Well,
my...
Russ, you're a poet. You don't need to worry about
I know, exactly. But they're still like, oh, why'd you put that there? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know the rules for it. But so more and more people are asking for that, and I think I'm gonna have to confront some of those fears from like 3rd grade English. But I am working on a children's book for one of my poems, so hopefully that will be coming out
Good.
in the next 5 years.
Anything else? No? Thanks a lot, Russ.
Thank you all so much.